My name is cerridwen Burton. I'm 26 years old and I'm a transplant to Bellingham. When I was 20 years old, I moved up here because I had initially come up with my family when I was in high school. And I moved back to Texas where we were from for a few years. I attempted to go to university there. It ended up not working out, and so I spent a couple of months in the workforce and saved up money to come home, because this is home now. So when I was 20 years old, I found myself living in absolutely the most impoverished conditions that I'd ever been in. I was staying in a trailer that was built in 1973 that had been condemned with a friend of mine from high school, her 2-year-old son, and her husband. And because work was scarce and because winter was on, I ended up supporting that family pretty much through her second pregnancy. I was taking a class here and there at Whatcom Community College, and I ended up having to abandon that venture for quite a while, actually, so that I could keep a roof over our heads and food on the table. We had some assistance from food stamps. I think it was about $30 a month. When the second boy was born, both children went on TANF, which is Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, as this was addressed before. And at the age of, I think, 6 months, their funding for TANF got cut off. And so it was back to $30 a month food stamps and whatever revenue I could bring in. Let's see, eventually I was able to come back to school. You know, I moved to town and I took odd jobs. At one point, I think I had 2 jobs so that I could get back into Whatcom. I worked through my entire education because I was under 24. I paid my way through community college. And I basically decided that my education was the most important thing in my life. And, you know, my education revolves around education itself. I'm studying to be a school teacher. I'd ultimately like to teach at community college because of the work I do there now. I am a tutor, and the people that I work with that I like the best are returning students who are my parents' age or older. And they're coming back to school after like 20, 30 years not having written a word. And they're just now remembering that they're smart. And usually people that have been in Whatcom are in a minority that are of this age range, but in the last 2 years, the demographic has expanded exponentially. Every quarter, there's more students who come in that are this age range. And it's because they have to. Because of the job market, because of the economies, they have to be in school to better themselves. In the meantime, we're facing state budget cuts, and we're facing an overpopulation in the schools because people are coming back. And so while you've got double the numbers, you've got 2/3 of the funding that was there the year before. And the figures just don't add up. My director in the Writing Center now is struggling, absolutely struggling to try and make ends meet for us. We have, I think, 12 tutors on staff. We all work part-time because we're all students either at Whatcom or Western. And so we all do like a few hours a week, but it's getting to the point where she's having to cut back the hours that we have just to keep all of us. And a lot of us are there because we need the multiple frames of mind that you have, because everybody has a different learning style. Everybody needs this individual attention that comes in. And we have been so busy the last, I think, probably 3 quarters that I've worked there. I've worked there for like 2 years, but the last 3 quarters have been the busiest because of the influx of students and because the needs of the students are changing. They've got all these new stresses on their life. More students are having to work for a living. They're having to work longer hours. You get a lot of people that are supporting families that can't apply for financial aid because either they're under the age of 24 or financial aid's just not enough because the budgets are being cut. I myself am on financial aid at Western, and in order to keep from going massively into debt and taking everything that they offer you, I had little enough. I had a Pell Grant, and then it was student loans. Didn't apply for work study because apparently I had too many credits, and a lot of people don't qualify for work study because they have jobs outside of school. And, you know, if their parents are helping them with their education and they're under 24, the state will claim that they make too much. The federal government will claim they make too much too. And, you know, I have classmates that are 20, 21. They have jobs. They're on their own. Their parents don't give them a dime. But because they make, $1,000 over what is required by FAFSA, they don't get assistance. Books, by the way, at Western cost anywhere from $250 to $500 a quarter, depending on your major. Sometimes more. If you're double majoring, you're pretty much SOL. And that's books alone. That's not even counting tuition. I think 15 credits at Western is somewhere around $2,200 per quarter. And then there's room and board to be considered. So it's enormously expensive to be a student at that school in this city. It was so expensive for me that last spring, it was a choice between paying the rent and going to school. And I chose school. So I ended up couch surfing. I ended up house sitting. And I ended up sleeping in the back of my car. I slept in the back of my car during finals week, actually, because I was up at the library studying until midnight and everybody was asleep that, has a normal life. Learning is absolutely the best experience of my life. It's the most rewarding. And when I learn, I can pass on what I learned to other people. The other part I chose school is because I love to teach. It's the best thing I've done with my life, the most rewarding, the most humbling. To go to somebody who is anywhere from 16 if you're running start student to 62. I tutored a guy from Afghanistan who had his own business and he was learning better English so he could apply for citizenship. And so when I do this, I feel like in part I'm instructing, but I'm also kind of sitting at people's feet. And it's just, I don't know, there's nothing better for me.